The mystical truths in religions East and West are brought to light again and made relevant for our time by Elizabeth Clare Prophet, world-renowned author and spiritual teacher.
What about soulmates and twin flames?
As we were saying, twin flames are the opposite polarity of the same being. People in love often find that they feel in their oneness that they are part of the same person. And this is the energy of love that comes from God, as God really is the source of love in our relationships. Twin flames were created by God in the beginning, out of the same sphere of consciousness. Each half of the whole has the same electronic pattern or blueprint, and that blueprint is not duplicated anywhere in cosmos. Twin flames often look alike, and yet they are often opposite in their manifestations, as they are intended to be the totality of the Father, Mother, God in expression. Soulmates are complementary souls who are working out a polarity of manifestation in one of the planes of consciousness. Their tie is for a particular mastery in time and space, whereas the ultimate union is with one's twin flame. Now, the energies which twin flames share are the energies of God. And when these energies are consecrated to the glorification of the real self and of reality, we find that joy and bliss and expansion of consciousness and creativity follow them wherever they go.
How likely is it that a person will find one's soulmate or one's twin flame?
It is often very likely. People incarnate, and they travel halfway around the world to find that twin flame. And it is because there is an inner magnet and an inner lodestone that draws one to one's true self, one's inner self, and to its representative in form. The story of Evangeline is the story of the pursuit of one's twin flame.
There's a great deal of energy on sexual matters going around these days, and we hear a lot of talk about it's absolutely essential to be free in what one does. How do you feel about that?
Well, I look at the word sex as an abbreviated term for sacred energy or sacral energy. Sex is the sacred energy of life, and the origin of that energy is in the mother focus, the base of the spine chakra. I don't deal with sex as being right or wrong, but I deal with God as energy. I deal with the individual having free will and the gift from God to determine what he will do with that energy. He may choose to meditate upon the Trinity within the heart and the magnet of light within the heart to raise the energy of the sacred fire from the base of the spine chakra. With the raising of that kundalini comes an experience in each succeeding chakra. In the base of the spine chakra, the seat of the soul, then the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown. These centers are sacred centers for God awareness. The polarity of the centers is the masculine ray. When we raise the mother light or the mother energy from the base of the spine, there is the fulfillment of wholeness in each succeeding chakra, and the individual will experience the bliss of attunement with the Father, Mother, God, and of wholeness. Sex, then, is much more than a simple experience between man and woman. It is a very intimate experience with God. And the individual has been given a gift of energy. It is a portion of the Godhead. And a portion of that energy is anchored in each of the chakras. We have the free will, then, to decide what we will do with this energy. Many people have seen that through meditation and the giving of mantras, how easy it is to raise the sacred fire and to begin to have deep inner experiences in the mysteries of God. Alternatively, the use of the sacred fire in sex has its highest culmination when it is for the bringing forth of children within the marriage framework. That is the great dedication of the sacred fires within the base chakra itself. When it is not for the purpose of bringing forth children, it is for the purpose of the balance of energies between man and woman in the married state. Now, that balance of energy may also be achieved by the raising of the energies of the spine and their consecration in each of the chakras until finally the opening of the 1,000-petal lotus through the crown chakra. The bliss of this experience cannot be described, and it cannot be compared to any earthly bliss. It is beyond what anyone could even imagine he could experience in this life. The bliss of that union, then, far outweighs any other union, and yet, until man and woman have tasted of that fruit, many, of course, prefer the sexual experience.
Then you're saying that enlightenment is related to inner wholeness.
Well, I would say enlightenment is related to the raising of the energies of the mother to become one with the Father within the self. Enlightenment comes through contact with God.
But we've talked about the proper use of sexual energies. What about the misuse of sexual energies?
The misuse of sexual energies comes about in the overindulgence in sex and its perversions, which we are aware are rampant on earth today. The normal flow of the sexual energies between man and woman, united and blessed by their own inner God presence, is certainly ordained by the Lord. The misuse of sex cuts off the natural attunement of the soul with the I Am presence, because the soul requires this sacred fire in order to rise to that higher level of consciousness, which is the union with the Godhead. We find that the misuse of sex and its proliferation in promiscuity results in untimely diseases, degeneration, and disintegration. Michelangelo was asked why the face of Mary in the Pietà was so young when Jesus was 33 and she is holding him as he comes down from the cross. And his reply was that the virtuous woman is always young. It is not a matter of sin and virtue. It is not a matter of right and wrong. It is a matter of the conservation of the life force. When one conserves the life force, one has a greater quantity of God manifesting within the temple. And so I think that by free will, when individuals misuse sex through overindulgence, that they are depriving themselves of cosmic consciousness. People then who are sensual by nature are very much involved in the things of this world, and they deprive themselves of the inner bliss of the heaven world that is within all of us. This is the great loss, not because it is a sin, but because the sex has become a wedge between the self and the Godhead.
The thrust of so much of the material that you see on media and read in books and literature these days seems to be directed toward persuading people to misuse their sexual energies. Is this directed toward death?
Well, I would say that the attempt to keep mankind in an eternal round of involvement in the things of this world, we might say, is calculated to deprogram the soul from its natural inclination to rise. The natural inclination of the soul to seek the inner union with the God self is very much a part of the yearning and the sense of loneliness. And because people do not have the path presented to them, they satiate themselves in the activities of this life, and they keep themselves going 24 hours a day, because when everything stops, they are still left with that gnawing, that loneliness, which is the soul that has not been satisfied through that bliss experience, which should be the daily experience of one's meditation.
So you're offering meditation as an alternative.
I have given courses in meditation and in the use of the science of the spoken word, where I have seen young people and people of all ages draw the energies of the sacred fire naturally into higher chakras, and I have seen the blossoming of life. I have seen joy and health and radiant faces and fulfillment that the world would not conceive could be achieved with the mastery of this energy.
In light of what you've said, what's your advice to young people?
Well, I would emphasize the fact that we have all been given this tremendous gift from God, which is free will. The second tremendous gift we have been given is the use of God's energy. All energy which we use in thought and feeling and in our sexual expressions belongs to God. What we have to realize is we have only so much energy that we have been given, and we must decide what we are to use it on. This energy is reflected in the quantity of time and space that is available to us each day, and the limitations which we all experience of what we can accomplish. Multiply this over a lifetime, and you see that there is not an infinite portion, but a finite portion that is allotted to us. I would tell young people then that the sacred fire within you is your creative life force. You can put it to use for the elevation of the entire earth, or you can squander it on the immediate indulgences of the senses. I would say that sex in proportion and in balance is part of life on earth. But when it becomes out of balance, it becomes the death of the soul consciousness. I would encourage young people then to take up the study of meditation, to study the science of the spoken word, to experiment with the experiencing of these sacred energies in all of the chakras and not just in the base of the spine. This is altogether possible, and it can be begun today, and the experiences that you can have beginning right now are phenomenal. There is just a world of light and joy waiting for the individual who will just try to enter into meditation and in the use of scientific mantras.
Isn't special training required?
Yes, special training is required, and this is why we have Summit University here, why we've written a number of books on the subject. It does require coming in contact with those who are currently demonstrating this science, and we'd like to invite young people to visit us and to call us up to just for a moment consider an alternative way of life which actually has been lived for thousands of years in previous cultures on Earth.
This is a presentation of the Summit Lighthouse, an international spiritual organization dedicated to universal enlightenment. Founded in 1958, the Summit Lighthouse is a beacon of truth to thousands worldwide and a leader in New Thought spirituality.